Let's take a look at a body paragraph of the independent essay. In this lesson, we're going to look at structure A, which we've talked about in previous lessons. First, we need our sample question. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Print media, including magazines and newspapers, will soon be completely replaced by internet news sources. Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. We've seen this before. Okay, so I'm going to disagree with that statement. What will be in my body paragraph? First thing I'll do is I'll give a reason and then explain that reason if I need to. Then I'll give some concrete examples or details. This is optional for you, but I will give a second example, a second detail, and I will need a transition in order to do that. And finally, I'll return to the general reason that I started with. Let's see it. Here's my first sentence. If there is a practical use for a product, then people will continue to buy it. Notice how general this is. There's no mention of newspapers or of the internet. It just gives a concept, an idea that I can use, that I can apply for my more specific opinion about newspapers in later sentences. My next sentence gives a little bit of explanation. Even though newspapers and magazines are often unnecessary, there are times when they can be useful too. So this explains how practical use is linked with newspapers and magazines, which is our main topic of the essay. Many subway systems do not have mobile internet service, for example, and so passengers read newspapers instead of using their smartphones or computers. Here's our concrete detail. We're talking about subways. This is a nice example of when newspapers are useful. Similarly, many countries do not yet have widespread mobile internet access. Here's our transition from one specific example to another example. Notice that I didn't name the countries. There's no name here, so it's not specific, right? Well, it's still pretty specific. I'm talking about a real-world issue, a physical, concrete problem. Countries do not have mobile internet access. This is true in the real world. Now, I don't know the names of the countries that don't have internet access. If I say that it is country A or country B or country C, I might be wrong. That wouldn't hurt me on the TOEFL, but it wouldn't really help either. It's not so important that you know many facts. It's more important that you have a real-world situation you can use. It will be a long time before that changes, and until then, print media will continue to be useful. Okay. This connects our previous sentence about internet access to our original reason. Print media will be useful. This is the same as up here. Even though newspapers and magazines are often unnecessary, there are times when they can be useful. This returns to our bigger reason, away from the real world specifics from countries and internet access and subway systems. So we have a zoom out, a big picture, a zoom in, looking at specifics, and a zoom out to the big picture. Body paragraph 2 is going to use the same basic structure. Take a moment to read this paragraph and look at the general ideas, the specific details, and the return to general ideas. When you're done reading, we'll take a look at the specific sentences. Besides being practical, physical news sources are more enjoyable for some people. Here's our reason. Reading from a screen can create stress, whereas reading from paper can be quite relaxing. Since we access internet news on the same devices we use for work and communication, phones and computers, we are often distracted by emails, text messages, and other responsibilities. This gives our concrete details, our specific real-world examples. Magazines and newspapers, meanwhile, offer an opportunity to escape from the stress of modern technology. This continues the same ideas from the previous sentence, using the opposite real-world details in the same reason. This makes it difficult for internet news to totally replace print media. And here we again zoom out to the big picture that internet news will not replace print media. So we have our reason, our details, more details, and finally we return to our main message. So we have zoom out, zoom in, zoom in, zoom out. Now you try with your own paragraph. Thank you for listening.